Okay, so we'll select the piece here and let's go into the left view. And we need to switch this to the right, so let's pull it down to right and zoom in a bit here. Okay, and as you can see, it's a little hard to see what's going on, but we're just going to use this as a basic guide for the size. Okay, so we're going to need to chop this in there and also create that door. Alright, so what we'll do is go over to shapes and drag out a circle. I'm just going to drag that over to kind of match the size there on the blueprint. Okay, and let's also right click and we want to make sure that's centered on the y-axis, so it's in the center of this piece. And we'll change the color maybe to black, and we'll go into the interpolation tab and turn the steps down to 1. Okay, so we have an octagon shape with 8 sides. And I'm just going to try to position that right about there. And for the size, we'll go with, let's do maybe 7.5 for the radius. Okay, we'll just shift drag this down to the other end, choose copy, and we'll just kind of line that up. Okay, so let's reselect the piece here. And if you've seen any of my other tutorials, you've probably seen me cut holes like this before. It's pretty much a standard way of doing it, and it works quite good. So let's go over to Edge, and we need to add a couple of extra loops here. So we'll just hit Connect. That'll add one loop there at the bottom, so let's move that up. Actually, let me undo that. Just open this up for a sec, we'll zero this out. We don't want to screw up any of that bottom curve there, so we'll just move this by hand. And I'm just going to put it right in the center here. Okay, and let's do another one, so we'll reselect these edges and connect. Let's position this one right in the center of this circle at the bottom. Okay, and then we'll just add a few more here. We need one up at the top, so let's connect those up. Pull that down. And we'll just position that a little bit away from the top of that circle. Let's do maybe like something like that. Same thing at the bottom here. And we'll try to get these somewhat even. Okay. And obviously we're going to need a couple in the center as well, so let's grab these edges. And let's maybe add a few extras here. We'll do maybe about 6, no pinch, no slide, and okay. Alright, and we need also some going up and down here, so let's ring this edge, do a connect, take that down to 2 segments, and just pinch those out. Okay, something like that looks pretty good. Hit OK to that, and let's just actually grab these verts here for this edge, and let's move it down a little closer. We want to have kind of an even spacing between the circle and the outer edges. Okay, all the way around. Okay, same thing at the bottom, we'll just move that up a little bit, make it a little more even. Okay, now I'm going to try to model this as clean as I possibly can. Okay, so I think that should work fine. Okay, so we'll turn off vertex here for a second, and let's also add one center edge. Okay, so another ring here, another connect with one segment, no pinch, no slide. So it's right in the center there. Okay to that, and now we can actually start cutting the hole. Alright, so we're going to go over to cut, and we're going to go up to our snapping options here and right click, and you just want to have vertex checked off here. Okay, and then we'll turn it on, and you can see that'll snap our cut to those verts, okay, which will make this a lot easier to do. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is maybe just cut around each of these to start with. I'm going to start at the top and just work my way around this, clicking on each of the corners of the circle. Okay, back to where you started, and then right click to end it. I'm going to go down to the bottom and do the exact same thing here. Okay, right click to end that one, and then we'll actually cut between these. So I'm going to start on this left vert at the top and go to the left vert on the bottom circle and right click. Same thing on this side and right click. Alright, and we didn't really need to cut the circle all the way around. We only needed to do this outer portion, and we'll do that on some of the other ports later on but we do need to punch this in. That's why I continued that circle around. And just to make it even, I did it at the top as well. Okay, so let's turn off cut. We'll turn off our vertex snapping. And we'll go over to vertex. We're just going to come in here and quad this up a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to select these two verts right here at the bottom of the bottom circle and hit connect. Okay, and I have a keyboard shortcut set up for that. I'm just going to use that to make it a little quicker. So connect those two, same thing at the top, connect and connect. Okay, and we also want to make sure that we have quads here, and as you can see we have n-gons right here and right here. All right, so we're going to have to do another cut here. All right, and you can use distance connect to do this, but as I mentioned before, some of these graphite tools here are full of glitches, and it's just a lot of times a waste of time to try saving yourself time by doing those. A lot of times it's easier just to do it the old school way. All right, so let's turn on our vertex snapping here. I'm just going to cut from here to here and here to here. Okay, so now we have quads. Turn off cut, turn off snaps, and we'll just start punching this hole in. First thing I'm going to do is just go to vertex. I'm going to grab these verts all around this hole here, or the circle, and just make sure that they're actually welded up. Sometimes you can miss the other vert that you're trying to click on when you're using cut, and it just creates two pretty much right on top of each other, which will give us a problem later when we smooth. So I'm going to make sure that these are all welded up. Alright, so I'm going to grab those, open a weld, and you can see there with a 0.1 we have a difference of one vert here. Okay, which means that we have two in one of these locations. So just to avoid any problems, we're just going to make sure that those are welded. Same thing up here. Just make sure those are welded. Okay, we look okay there. Alright, so now what we'll do is go to polygon. I'm going to zoom in here at the bottom and select the 4 polys that make up this circle. Alright, we're going to need to inset these in so we can punch that little hole into the sim door. Okay, so inset. And I'll take this up a little bit. Maybe something like that. And hit OK. Alright, we don't need to do anything at the top there. Go back to edge now, and we're going to need to add obviously some support edges here so that we can maintain the shape. Alright, so I'm actually going to just let's maybe just inset those polygons one more time. Okay, so just reselect those, do an inset. I want this one to be pretty tight here, so we'll do it pretty small, maybe around 0.2 or so, and let's just do 2 to be on the safe side. So I'm going to hit the apply and continue and hit OK. And that'll give us 2 edge loops there, which should help hold this the sharpness of this hole when we punch it in later on. Okay, we also need to have some around this outer part here for the same reason. So let's go to edge, select an edge here and ring it. Okay, and that should go all the way around. So let's add a loop with connect, and we'll just slide this up so it's closer. Maybe around 85 or so, it's probably good. Okay, and you can see that whacked out those verts a little bit, so I'm just going to turn on my edge constraints over here so that we don't pull everything out of alignment, and we'll just slide some of these up a bit. Oops, let's do one at a time. Okay, same thing at the top, just make sure these are as even as possible. Okay, that looks pretty good. Alright, and like I mentioned earlier, some of these edges are extremely sharp on the actual phone. So let's add an extra loop just in the center here. Let's ring this one and connect it up with one segment right in the center. Okay, that'll help sharpen that edge when we add Turbo Smooth. Let's go OK to that. Alright, and let's see if we can extract this out now. Alright, so we're going to go to Polygon, and we'll just grab the polys here and deselect these ones. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in here into perspective view so we can see what's going on. Okay, so let's punch this in. I'm just going to do extrude. Okay, so we'll take that down to a negative amount, and we'll just punch it in a bit here. Doesn't need to be super deep. we'll do something like that. Okay, so around -5, hit OK, and we'll detach these polygons and use them to create the SIM card door. Alright, so detach, call it SIM door, and OK. And then we'll reselect that. I'm just going to apply a different color shader to it. And we'll move this out. And let me just see what's going on here. Okay, let me just right click up here. And we'll go back a few steps here. Before we extruded it, okay, and we actually want to deselect this outer ring of polygons here so that we have that as a support edge around the outside of the hole. Okay, so sorry about that, but we'll just go in and quickly deselect these ones. And we can do that by just shrinking the selection once. Okay. Alright, so just make sure you have everything selected up to this edge here in the center. Okay, now we'll do our extrude. So let's extrude that in around -5 or so. Hit OK and detach those polygons as sim door. Okay, and we'll just drag and drop our blue shader on that door, and we'll add some support on the inside of the hole as well here before we move that door out. Alright, so just ring these edges on the inside and connect them up one segment and slide that almost to the front. I want this to be really sharp, so get them pretty close there. You don't want to go right on top of each other, but about 96, 97, 98, something like that should be good. So hit OK to that. Alright, now we'll start working on the door. Alright, so let's go into maybe the top view here. I'm just going to pull this out a bit. Okay, so we can work on it. And we'll go to border, grab the outer border here. And we'll just shift drag this back on the Y. And let me turn off the edge constraint first. Okay, so let's push it in like that. We'll do the same thing on the outside, add a support edge, and slide that to the front. Okay, and then we'll go down here, and we'll punch this hole in now. Okay, so grab these 4 polygons. And I'm going to leave both edge loops on the top here. We'll just punch in these 4 in the center. Okay, so we'll extrude that in. Just push it back a bit more. Hit OK, we'll actually delete those out. And just support the inside here with 1 edge loop. Okay. Alright, so that should be good for our sim door. We'll just push it back a bit. I'm going to leave it slightly sticking out. Just to be a little bit more apparent on the model. Okay, so we'll do something like that, and now we'll just apply turtle smooth this and see how everything's looking. And before we do, let's actually center the pivots on each of these. Okay, so that outer piece will apply turtle smooth, 2 durations and ice line, and we'll just copy the modifier here and apply it to the door. Okay, and we're looking pretty good. Everything looks nice and sharp. Alright, so let's push that in like that. And that's really the only detail we need to add on this right side. Okay, so we'll do the same process on the other pieces to cut in the rest of the holes. And I'm just going to grab those 2 templates we used here, the 2 circles, and we'll just delete those out. And the last thing we'll do over on the side is just add a couple of additional segments to break up some of these long polygons. You can see the mesh looks a little weird here, and that's just because we don't have any segments above or below this hole. Okay, so if we turn off our turtle smooth here, you can see those polygons are super long. Alright, so we're just going to break those up with a couple of additional segments just to help it smooth out a bit better. Okay, so drop down to edit poly, go to edge, and we'll just drag right through these. And we'll just go over to connect and add a couple of segments here. Let's do maybe 4, and we don't want any pinch or slide on this. Hit OK to that. We'll do the exact same thing below the hole, and we'll just connect it up with maybe 3. Okay, and then we'll turn the turtle smooth back on, and as you can see, that mesh looks a little bit better here, and I'll just help it smooth out a little bit more. Okay, so I'm just going to put the ice line back on that piece, and I think we're done with this side. So let's right click, unhide all. Going to spin around to the other side here. select that, hit Control I to invert the selection and hide everything. Alright, and we'll just start working on these volume buttons here, or at least the holes for them. Alright, so let's go into our left view, toggle our transparency here, and we'll switch to left. Okay, and the first thing we'll do is just add an additional segment here in the middle. So let's go back to Edge, drag right through those, and connect that up with one segment. Okay, and we'll just add a few more here to kind of get the geometry we need in here to cut these in. Okay, so let's do another connect. Just going to move this down. Got to put that down below the hole, or where the hole will be. Same thing up here, connect that up, move that segment up. Okay, I want this to be, as even as we can get. So I'm going to try to be, pretty precise on the edge placement here. We're going to also maybe add one in the center. So let's connect that up. And we want to have one vertically. And I think we're also going to need a couple of additional ones on the sides here. I don't really want to connect the circle up to this corner point that's on the support edge here. It might give us a little bit of a kink there, so let's move it in a little bit. And we can do that by just adding a couple additional edges vertically here. Alright, so ring those edges again, connect it up, and this time we'll do two segments and just pinch those out a bit. Alright, we'll do maybe like 80 and okay, and then we'll do a vertical one in the center here. So let's ring it again and connect it up with one segment. No pinch, no slide. Alright, and now let's just chuck in a circle here so we have something to follow when we cut the hole out. Okay, so back into shapes, grab a circle, and just drag that out in the center. Okay, and don't worry that it's off to the left like this. We just want to get pretty much the size of the hole we need. Right, let's change the color to black so we can see it. Turn down the steps to 1, and let's do maybe like 14 or so on the radius. Okay, we want to make sure that's in the center, so we'll just right click the move tool and zero out the y-axis. Okay, just gonna get rid of those damn selection brackets. And Max 2012 has a few glitches. One being the selection brackets will come back every time you change viewports or change from wireframe to shaded, etc. And I haven't found any way to really get rid of that. Even if you go up and you turn it off in the settings, it still comes back, and it's a real pain in the ass. All right, you can just turn those off with J if you don't want to see them. But anyways, let's clone this down. So we'll shift drag that down to the next hole as a copy, and just line it up the best we can. Okay, and let's maybe also clone this up to the top here where the mute button is as another copy. Okay, we'll crank down the radius on this one, and we'll do, say, maybe around 9 or so for this guy. And I'm just going to move that up and line it up at the top here. Okay, whenever you're going to cut in a elongated hole like this, it's really no different than cutting in a circle one. We'll just use 2 circles as a template rather than 1. And at some point I'll probably do maybe a quick tip or something on different techniques for cutting the holes, but right now we're just going to continue to do it this way. So let's shift drag this down again. We'll line it up at the bottom there in the blueprint. Okay, and I think that should be good for size. Okay, so let's grab the mesh here for the side, go back to edge, and we'll just add a couple of segments through each of these circles. Okay, so select those edges there, do a connect. Let's move that up. Okay, and just line it up with that vert there on each side. Same thing down here. Connect that up, and just park it right there. Alright, and we'll just loop this edge, and we'll move it up. Okay, you want to have pretty much the same distance, as we have up here, down here, so just kind of line that up as best you can. And we'll add one more here for the top of the bottom hole, and just move that down a bit. Okay. And we'll also toss one in up here. Okay, so once again, another connect on those edges, and just park that underneath the mute button here. Alright, and now we'll just start making our cuts. Alright, so same process here. Let's go over to cut, back up to our snaps, and we'll just cut this in quick. Okay, so we'll start on maybe this bottom hole here, and the exact same process. Just trace that around, clicking on the verts, and then right click to end it. Same thing up here. And right click to end it. And up on this one, we'll just start at the top, work over to this left vert here, and instead of going around the bottom, we're just going to go right across to the second circle. Okay, and trace the bottom of that one, over to this right vert, straight up to the right vert on the top circle, and back to the top, and right click. Okay, we'll turn off cut there for a second. Let's hit H, select those 4 circles, and delete them out. Alright, we'll go up and turn off snaps here. Select the mesh again, and let's maybe connect these up now. Alright, so I'm going to go to vertex, and let's connect these ones here. So I'm going to grab both those verts and hit connect. And we'll do the same thing on each of the 4 corners here. Okay, same thing on the top one. Okay, and up at the top. Now we're going to need to do a little bit of additional work on this guy. Alright, but right now let's connect these 2 and these 2, and we'll also do the bottom 2. And we're going to change the topology a little bit around these holes here. I don't really want to have these polygons shaped like this. It's probably going to give us a little bit of a weird result when we smooth it. So let's go to edge, and let's grab this one here. Okay, so each of these 4. Okay, the same 4 down here. Okay, and we'll just remove those. Okay, and we'll go into vertex, and we'll just get rid of the extra vert on each side for now. Okay, so let's grab those and remove them. Okay, that'll give us a little bit better topology here, and we also need to connect it up to each side. So let's go back to edge, drag right through these edges, hold control and drag through those ones, as well as these, and the same up here. And connect that up with one segment. Okay, that'll give us a point that we can cut this across to, which will give us quads around the hole, which is what we want. Alright, so we'll just grab this vert here and this one and hit connect. This one and this one and connect. This one and this one. And these 2. Okay, same thing down here. Okay, and if you want to be finicky about it, you can adjust these a little bit if you want to straighten out these edges. Alright, so just move this up. Doesn't really matter. But I'm just going to do it because I'm stupid like that. So let's get everything nice and even here, nice and clean. Okay, and up on the top here, we're going to need to connect some of these up. So let's maybe do exactly the same thing here. Let's grab these edges and do a connect. And this time we'll do 2. Just going to pinch those out a bit. Alright, we want to try to line these up obviously with these verts here on the circle. So let's do about 15 or so with 2 segments, and okay. And then we'll just connect them across. So we have quads. Alright, and I'm going to straighten these out again. Okay, and let's also maybe connect up these verts here by cutting these across. Alright, so I'm going to go over to cut, and we'll just cut from this vert to this vert, and this vert to this vert. Okay, now give us a pretty clean quad mesh here. So now we can start actually punching these holes in. Okay, so turn off cut there, go back to polygon. We're just going to select the 4 polys for each of these. We'll do that top one in a minute. Right, and one thing we should make sure, because we cut this up so much, I just want to make sure that these verts are actually welded here. Occasionally when you use vertex snaps and cut, it actually doesn't weld the verts together when you cut. Sometimes they're just pretty much sitting on top of each other. Alright, so I'm going to grab all these ones here around the hole, and we'll just open up weld. Okay, and point 1 should be enough to weld them up, and you can see we have no difference before and after here, so we didn't miss any welds, so we're going to do it anyways, and same with up here. So weld those up. And we'll do it up here as well. Okay, so just weld that. All right, just to be on the safe side. And we'll go back to polygon. And with these 8 polys selected, we're just going to zoom in really close here. And we want these edges to be super sharp around these buttons once we have the turbo smooth on. So we're going to do an inset here. Really, really tight, like we did on the sim door. Let's do around, I don't know, 0.2 or something. We'll hit apply and continue. And okay. All right, now give us a double edge there on both of these holes. So go to perspective here, zoom in with Z. Let's turn our transparency off. And we'll just punch these in a bit by extruding it in. Alright, so I'll crank that down to a negative amount. They don't need to be super deep, but we'll push it in maybe something like -6, -7, and okay. And I think we'll leave these polygons in here just so we don't have any light leaks when we render later. Okay, so with those polygons selected, we'll do another inset just to get a support edge around that back face. Okay, and finally select an edge on the inside of the hole here, on the top and bottom. Give it a ring and a connect with 2 segments. And we'll just pinch those out so they're pretty tight to the edges here. We want this to be really sharp. Alright, so around 94, 95, something like that. And okay. Okay, and for the top hole here, we're going to do pretty much the same process. So let's go back into our right view here, or our left view, sorry, and zoom in, and let's grab the polygons. Okay, we'll do another inset here the exact same way, 0.2 twice, and okay. And we'll just punch this in. Okay, so another extrude there, and we'll just do it around the same amount. Okay, I'm just trying to look at my actual phone here to see how deep this thing is. It's not really that deep, and there's, you know, another piece of metal in there that slides up and down. So let's crank it back a bit. Maybe something like that, and okay. And let's maybe delete these polygons out. I think we'll make another piece that fits in there later on. Alright, so I'm going to delete those off, and then we'll just support this inside edge here with a ring and a connect. And we'll just do the same settings here too, with a 93 on the pinch. Hit OK, and we don't need this back edge here because this is an open hole. Alright, so we'll loop that back edge and control backspace that one out. Okay, and let's test smooth it now. So apply turbo smooth, 2 iterations, and ice line. And we'll see how these holes look. Alright, so we're looking pretty crisp here. I don't see any artifacts. Okay, and this top hole here is too oval. We need to adjust this a bit. You can see the one on the blueprint there is kind of flat topped on the bottom and top. And let's just grab our reference pictures here for a second. And we'll see if we have a picture of this. Yeah, you can see that the sides there are relatively flat and just has kind of the oval shape a little bit, but not much. Okay, so let's fix that. Okay, so we'll go back to our left view. And let's drop down to edit poly again, and we want to see what this is going to look like with the turbo smooth applied, so we'll turn on the show and result button here. Okay, so we can see it subdivided. Let's go over to vertex, and we're just going to adjust the verts here. Alright, so we're going to select these 2 on the top and bottom. Alright, you should have about 20 verts selected with that. And we're going to use scale here just to kind of shape the hole. Alright, so I'm going to scale this out a little bit on the X, and let's make sure we take off our edge constraint first. And then we'll scale it out. Okay, we just want to make that a little bit more squarish. And if you want to, you can grab those middle verts on the top and bottom and just, you know, bring them down. Okay, I think we'll go with something like that. Alright, I think we're pretty good there. So let's turn the turbo smooth back on. And I think that'll complete this side. Besides the buttons, of course. Alright, so now would be a good time to save if you haven't already done that.